All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now off to our fan favorites, shout outs and rants. We'll keep the same order. So, Matt, do you have a shout out and or rant for us today?
I have something I'm not quite sure how to characterize this because this is somewhat sad in that I wanted to note the early and untimely death of Michaela DePrince, a 29 years old ballerina. And what had struck me, she died under circumstances that have not been disclosed earlier this week. She passed away. What struck me was her tremendous ability to overcome adversity. For those who are not familiar with her, she was born in Sierra Leone during its Civil War strife. Before the age of 5, witnessed her father get murdered, her mother die of starvation, several siblings who also died, was put up for adoption, and then she was basically ostracized at her adoption agency because she had that skin disease, vitiglio, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, where you have this mottled skin color. And the orphanage officials there didn't like her. And she went through all of this when she was still not even of school age. Immigrated to the United States. She was adopted here along with one of her orphanage friends. They wound up being adoptive sisters in Philadelphia, where she became an incredibly successful and talented ballerina. She worked here in Boston for a while and she worked in New York. She was on a Beyonce album. Don't ask me what Beyonce song because I don't know that, but I know over triumph over adversity when I see it, and she had delivered that in spades, and it is a sad thing that she has passed away so early, and we should just call out her triumphs while she was here. That's all I have to say this week.
Karen Moore, do you have a shout out and or rant for us?
Yeah. That shout out with a happier ending than yours, but just sending out thoughts and prayers for Nick Gallo, who's the co-CEO at Ethico and one of the just great people in our space who was in a horrific car accident on Wednesday, is lying in a hospital bed and 2 days later still manages to send out a LinkedIn post with thoughts and teachings and learnings and how lucky he feels not to be fully paralyzed. Just an outstanding person. If anybody can get through something like this, it's going to be Nick. So just sending out every possible good thought for recovery.
Karen Woody, do you have a shout out and or
I
rant for
echo
us?
that. I have some thoughts to Nick. My shout outs, I could have had, there are a lot of things to rant about this week, but I figure we have many weeks to go. But I'm going to shout out in one of my usual ones, which is in pop culture. So this week, the Emmys happened. And I just want to note that I had a shout out to Hacks a number of weeks ago, but it was the episode that didn't get recorded for some reason. So I know everyone who's listening now thinks I'm making this up, but it's true. I called the Hacks win. They won the Emmys on Sunday. And so, or for whatever category, I guess comedy. And so my current shout out, even though I know those of you who are aware of this show are very aware because it's now in its 4th season. But my shout out and future Emmy predictor, since I seem to be a bit of a kingmaker here, is Slow Horses. It's on Apple TV. It's great. Got Kristen Scott Thomas, Gary Oldman, and it's about spies. So everything that we love. That's my shout out and my tip.
Excellent show.
Jonathan Marks, shout out and or rant today.
I actually have 2 shout outs, so it's kind of interesting. I'm a fraud guy by nature, but this is a personal thing for me. So it's a shout out to eBay. I actually bought something on eBay that required it to be authenticated, and the authenticator found something that they did not like, and they actually sent it back to the seller and said that you should not have advertised it as such. And I was absolutely so impressed by that, that I actually spent some time and penned a letter to them, thanking them for protecting me. So anybody out there that's looking to buy something that is a little bit more out of the norm on eBay and they have an authentication process, it actually does work. So a huge shout out to them. I thought it was fantastic. And then the other thing was, I learned of this. Does everybody here know what the keeper test is? So Netflix has this thing, which I learned about. It's not, we're not talking about shows now, but they have this keeper test that Netflix uses, and it's around one core question. If your team member told you they were leaving for another job, would you fight to keep them? And I started scratching my head and going, wow, this is interesting. However, while it's the main question, implicitly leads to other considerations that I think we really must evaluate. Is the employee consistently delivering high quality work and things like that? And they actually have robust severance packages because their theory is that they want to keep the best people that fit within the organization. And I learned about this yesterday. I bumped into it by accident and I keep thinking about this. And so I'll probably have more to say later, but I just think it's absolutely fascinating that somebody came up with this keeper test. For the longest time, I've never even heard of it. And now that I've heard of it, I just find it very intriguing. That's how they're going about sort of creating their culture at Netflix.
I am going to shout out to Los Angeles Dodgers Shohei Ohtani. He had a game for the ages in baseball yesterday. Here were his stats: 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and the creme de la creme, 2 stolen bases to make him the first person to create the 50-50 club. What is the 50-50 club? 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in one season. Never been done before. It was the last homer may have been fluff, but if it goes out of the stadium, I count it as a homer. The best day of baseball I'd ever heard of before this was the end of the 1941 season when Ted Williams, with a 399.7 batting average, said, "No, I'm going to play." But he played a doubleheader. And a doubleheader, he went 6 for 8 and went to 406 for the last 400 hitter. But this game yesterday was something special. Ohtani is something special. And if you love special baseball, he gave us a gift for the ages yesterday.